Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Hunter x Hunter episode 133. Alright, and this one starts with Pouf. He's spreading scales among the rest of the humans. Um, they're trying to figure out what's going on, but it doesn't really matter, because who cares? Um, he says that because 6/7 of his body is now inside Mereum. That sounded weird. Now that 6/7 of his body is now inside Mereum, uh, he's gotten slower with his scale spreading, so it's taking him longer than he thought. Um, and while he's doing that, Ikago and Palm they get Welfin, and they try to use him as a messenger in order to get Mereum down to Bezef's area and negotiate. All right. Um, Wolfen at first he wasn't really 100% with the plan, but then Ikago used their human pasts as a way to kind of get Wolfen to obey. He mentioned he mentioned Wolfen's former human name, like Psychal or Psychahal, something like that. And he just talked about their human past and stuff. He brought up Gyro, said he told him to go see Gyro. Um, Told him that the Chimera ants are enemies of Gyro, therefore enemies of them, and stuff like that. And there were hints here that Gyro is. There were hints here that one of the Chimera ants is actually Gyro, like their past life was Gyro, and in my opinion, that was kind of obvious from the beginning. Um, because when we got that long flashback of his, like, why waste time giving us that flashback if he wasn't gonna, like I thought it was obvious that one of the Chimera ants was gonna be him, probably Miram, um, but whatever. We'll find out sooner or later. Um, how many Chimera ants are even left? Seriously. I've lost track of which ones are alive and which ones are dead. Oh, that alligator dude is still running around somewhere. That dude, that little koala dude, that dude's still running around. Dude, I'm sure. Actually, I'm pretty sure there are a decent amount of them. I'm pretty sure. Well, who cares? Later, all right. It'll though, if they might be relevant again, but right now it's not important. So let's just move on. All right. Walfin ends up doing what they say. He leaves. He drops the girls off, the four girls that Bezef had. He drops them off, and then he goes to deliver the message to Miram. However, he ends up running into Youpi, and Youpi, I noticed here, was coughing a lot. Like he would just keep coughing, like he thought he was Walter White or something. Like he just kept coughing. All right, and then and then well, I forgot his name for a second. Welfin. Welfin tells Youpi about the message, okay? But then in the end, he decides not to trust Youpi, and he starts to question Youpi, including about his past memories. And Youpi's like, "Nah, I'm, I don't have past memories. I'm Youpi of the Royal Guard. Blah blah blah. All right, whatever." And he just leaves. So then Welfin ends up using his ability in order to make him answer. Right, that makes Youpi mad. However, when he does that, you can see blood starting to come from Youpi's nose. Okay, so at that point, I was like, "What?" Like I've seen characters get so mad that they bite their lip and their lip starts to bleed, but blood coming from the nose—that's a new one. Wow, that's interesting. But at that point, I was like, I knew that there was something up because he kept coughing, but I was just like, oh well, whatever. I'll wait till the end of the episode. Maybe it'll be revealed then. All right. But the next time we see Yuppie, he's lying dead, just right there. All right. I was like, wait, what? I think the first thing I actually thought was this. The first thing I thought was that it had to do with him coughing and all that. Then the second thing I thought was, well, maybe he didn't answer the question, and then Welfin ended up killing him with, like, shooting him with the missile and the centipedes and stuff. But then I went back to the coughing thing. I was like, well, no, there's no that coughing thing has to be relevant somehow. So then I went back to that. All right, and Poof actually ends up finding Youpi, so he goes back to Mereum to alert him of this. However, Mereum was walking around and he ended up finding one of the Gungi pieces that Poof missed. All right, so now he's in the mood to just find out what's going on, and Mereum tries to force him um, to tell him what he was hiding. All right, and we don't really see what happens with that the next time we see. Well, let me talk about that at the end. All right. The next thing we end up seeing there, it's Palm and Ikaga. All right, and they are discussing quite a few different things. They're discussing Komugi. They're discussing multiple scenarios for why the Chimera ants are reacting the way they are right now, pretty much. That and scenarios for why Mereum is acting the way he is right now and not going after them. So it was actually pretty interesting to listen to. I won't repeat like everything they said just cause time, but it was just interesting to listen to. Um, and Palm ends up saying at the end there that they need to buy time. All right, buy time until Miram dies. And when she said that, I was like, wait, what? I actually had to go back and re-listen to make sure I didn't miss anything. And but it turns out that Ikaga was just as confused as I was. I'm like, wait, what do you mean he's gonna die? What? What's going on? And then she says he's gonna die soon. I'm like, what? And then I remembered when Miram was walking and walking around, he found that Gungi piece. His nose actually started to bleed. I think it was his nose. His nose started to bleed, just like Youpi's did. So I was like, maybe it's linked to that, right? And then at the very end of the episode, we see Poof cough up blood. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's that's the there's no way that's a coincidence. All three, one, okay, maybe two, it's pushing it, but I guess it could be a coincidence. Three, no way, no way, not a coincidence. All right, so this definitely has something to do with Netero. All right, the dude is like Michael Jackson. All right, even after he's dead, he still keeps working. All right, he still keeps doing what he does. All right, like Mark Henry. This is what I do. Or wait, what is his catchphrase? That's what I do. That's what it is. That's what I do. All right, well, whatever. I messed it up, but if anyone gets the joke, then they'll get what I mean. If you don't get the joke, then you wouldn't get it even if I said it right. But whatever, whatever. Um, the reason I think this is something that Netero did is because they should have when Palm was talking about this and how Miriam was going to die soon. There's a picture of a rose in the background, and then after that they showed a short clip of the explosion with what was it, miniature rose, minimum rose, miniature rose. I think it was miniature rose. They showed that, so it has something to do with that. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, the the most basic explanation I can come up with is like the radiation from the blast. But the first thing I thought of wasn't actually that. It was that mirror. It was that. Well, it was similar to that, but not really. Miram had been infected by something because of the blast, and because Poof and Youpi gave 6/7 of their body to Miram, and then they ended up getting this weird connection. Then the illness was passed on from him to them, so now all three of them had it. It was weird. I don't know how I came up with that. It made no freaking sense. But it's most likely radiation, and they were all around the blast site and everything, so it's most likely that. Which is a weird way to have all these dudes die, because it was you like not like they have anyone left who's strong enough to fight Miram. So I mean, I can understand doing it this way, but it's just weird to build up all this stuff and then just have them die of radiation. Like it's cool for Netero because you can end up saying Netero killed this dude, that dude, that dude. He killed all three of these guys. You could say he killed Miram twice. But it's cool for him, but it's just weird as long as this arc has been, all the build up all these characters have gotten, all the development they've gotten, and then they end up dying because of an illness instead of an actual fight. It fits the series because it's not your typical shonen, as people like to say, but it's still just weird. Like, I don't know. I guess I prefer this over like a random power up or something. Killua suddenly, I don't know, whatever. I don't feel like coming up with a BS power up off the top of my head, but you know what I mean. It's just weird. It's not, it's not weird. It's just not what you're used to seeing. Therefore, because it's not what we're used to seeing, I consider it weird because it doesn't fit the stereotype of how these situations are supposed to happen. But it's knowing Togashi, he'll probably execute it well. So yeah, but. Well, yeah, that's really it for the episode, you guys. As for the rating, I'll give this episode a 9 out of 10. All right, because it was able to build up that last thing with like all three of them being infected without making it obvious. Like with all that coughing Yuppie was doing, it was clear for me at least that there was something wrong. But as you heard from me describing the way I was thinking, it wasn't like I. It was just a possibility for me. It wasn't like oh yeah, it's definitely something like this, you know. So he was able to build things up without making it obvious what he was doing. Plus the conversations that Palm had with Yakago, those were all really good too. So yeah, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I was thinking maybe an 8.5, but nah, I'll give it a 9. Because and Youpi died too, and then there was the stuff with Wolfen and Ikago. So yeah, I'll give it a 9 out of 10, and that's that, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.